There are many sacred rivers flowing from the glaciers of the Himalayas. These rivers, such as the Ganga, the Yamuna, and the Gandaki, are believed to have the spiritual power of blessing their devotees. If one takes just a few drops of these sacred waters upon one's head, then the karma, or the reactions of mundane activities performed in previous lifetimes, are removed, and pious merits for future lifetimes are acquired. It is said that in ancient times, some 60 to 70 million years ago, the spiritual personality named Vrindadevi, who resides eternally on the spiritual planet of Goloka Vrindavan, descended to earth in the form of the Gandaki River. Furthermore, the Vedic literatures state that Vishnu, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, also incarnated on earth in the form of Shaligram Shila, the unique stones found only in the region of the Gandaki. Thus, the devotees of Vishnu and Krishna make pilgrimages to the Gandaki in search of Shaligram Shila. The Gandaki also holds a unique geographical distinction. On the northern banks of the Gandaki, the peaks of Dholagiri reach 26,542 feet, and on her southern banks, the peaks of Annapurna reach 26,295 feet, thus making the Gandaki Gorge the deepest river valley in the world. Our pilgrimage to the Gandaki takes us to the rooftop of the world, where the infinite has come down to bless the finite. Our journey begins in Kathmandu, the capital city of Nepal, and continues to Pokhara, then to Jomsom along the Gandaki, and finally to the Vishnu temple at Muktinath. Kathmandu is situated in a great valley and has a population of about 1 million people. Kathmandu is predominantly a Hindu city. Thus the people mainly worship demigods such as Ganesh and ghastly gods such as Kalabhairava. The pantheon of the Hindu altar is indeed complex. It is important to note, however, that the orthodox worshippers of Krishna and Vishnu, who are sometimes thought to be Hindus, do not actually consider themselves Hindus as such. A worshipper of Krishna or Vishnu is called a Vaishnava, and the Vaishnava believes that there is only one Supreme Personality of Godhead. Vaishnavism is certainly distinct from Hinduism in many ways. A Hindu believes that there are many gods, and that he or she is also God. However, a Vaishnava believes that all conscious beings are eternal servants of God, and that the goal of life is to develop love of God. The popularity of the Tibetan Buddhist community of Kathmandu gives most visitors the impression that Nepal is a Buddhist country, when in fact it is not. Although Buddhism is an atheistic doctrine, it is nonetheless considered by many people to be something of a spiritual experience. This is indeed ironic, since Buddhists do not believe in anything spiritual. They do not believe in such things as a supreme being, the existence of a creator, or in the existence of consciousness. However, the Tibetan Buddhists have done a wonder in spreading their religion. Buddhism is in fact the fastest growing form of atheism in the world today. After a brief stay in Kathmandu, we catch a bus for an 8-hour ride to Pokhara. Pokhara is one of those picturesque towns in the Himalayas where the pace of life goes by without a care. The town is situated at the base of Mount Machapuchte. It towers 22,740 feet above the Annapurna Range. The feature attractions of the town of Pokhara are the spectacular mountain views and the serenity of Lake Fewatal. Other than the lakeside bazaar, there really isn't anything happening in Pokhara except a performance by the local snake charmer. From Pokhara, we take a 45-minute flight to Jomsom. At Jomsom, we are greeted by the vast expanse of the Gandaki Gorge. Towering on all sides are the great Himalayas. In Bhagavad Gita, Lord Krishna says that of immovable objects, He is the Himalayas. Here is where our search for Shaligram begins. The Gandaki flows swiftly as she winds her way down the gorge towards the plains of India. It is here that the Gandaki washes the Shaligram Shila with the waves of her transcendental water. The Shaligram Shila manifestation of Vishnu is certainly one of the most mysterious forms of the Supreme Lord. Yet, it is also not illogical to think that if God is present everywhere, as is universally accepted, then he must also be present in a mountain or in a stone. Shaligram Shila, however, is not just an ordinary stone in which one might imagine the presence of God. Shaligram is a direct manifestation of the transcendental body of Vishnu, and according to the different markings found on the Shaligram is thus considered to be a particular incarnation of Vishnu or Krishna. In the ancient Vedic literatures, such as the Varaha Purana, Garuda Purana, Padma Purana, and Skanda Purana, we are given detailed descriptions of the various types of Shaligrams. Some of the Shaligrams are black, some are gray, some are blue, some are red, some are brown, some are white, and some are mixed in color. The Shaligrams often bear marks, such as the sacred thread of a Brahmana, or the hoofprint of a cow, a lotus, a flower garland, and most commonly, the sign of the chakra, the disc of Vishnu. A Narasimha Shaligram is described as large, usually brown or tan, and having a wide mouth with 2 chakras within. A Krishna Shaligram is usually black, or sometimes blue. It is round and has the marks of 2 chakras on the top or bottom. A Damodar Shaligram is usually round, black, and bears the mark of the cow's hoofprint. A Lakshmi Narayani Shaligram is usually oval, the color of rain clouds. It has a mouth, 4 chakras, and the mark of a flower garland. Over the centuries, many of India's great saints have come to the banks of the Gandaki to search for Shaligram Shila. In one instance, the renowned devotee Sri Gopal Bhatta Goswami came to the Gandaki and found 12 Shaligram Shilas, one of which was a Damodar Shaligram. Upon returning to Vrindavan, Gopal Bhatta daily worshipped the 12 Shaligrams, according to the instruction of his guru. Then one day, being pleased with his devotee, Lord Krishna manifested his transcendental deity form from within the Damodar Shaligram. This self-manifested deity of Krishna is known as Radha Raman and is still being worshipped today in Vrindavan almost 500 years later. Many Vaishnavas come to the Gandaki in search of the Narasimha Shaligram, and we were certainly no exception. On the 5th day of our quest, we were very fortunate to find a large Narasimha Shaligram bearing the traditional mark of the chakra. It is said that many millions of years ago, the great devotee Prahlad Maharaj worshipped a Narasimha Shaligram similar to the one we had found. After some time, the Shaligram manifested itself into a large deity of Yoga Narasimha. This deity of Yoga Narasimha is still being worshipped today at Melakote in South India. Our pilgrimage to Gandaki was now complete, and the next day we departed for Muktinath. The way to Muktinath takes us along the Gandaki River and then up the slopes at the base of the Nilgiri Mountains. Pilgrims usually walk the distance to Muktinath, although local people and occasionally the elderly pilgrims prefer to go by horseback. The views of the Gandaki Gorge and the mountain peaks along the way to Muktinath are indeed awesome. It is of little wonder that saints and sages considered this a sacred place. The natural beauty of this region heralds the presence of divinity in all directions. Thus one cannot help but to remember the Supreme. The Rig Veda states that the lotus feet of Vishnu are above all, like the sun is above our head. Great saintly persons always see the lotus feet of Vishnu, recognizing him as the highest truth. Muktinath is situated just below the Thorlung La Pass at 12,187 feet. The temple of Vishnu and his consorts Sridevi and Bhudevi, located at Muktinath, makes this the highest place of Vishnu worship in the world. Upon arriving at Muktinath, we were surprised to learn that Muktinath is also a pilgrimage destination for the Buddhists. In fact, all the inhabitants of Muktinath are Buddhist. Even the daily worship of the deity is performed by Buddhist nuns, and not by Vaishnavas. This is certainly something very much out of the ordinary, in that these two opposing opinions, theism and atheism, have come together and harmonized at Muktinath. The Buddhists worship Vishnu at Muktinath as the Adi Buddha, or the original Buddha. It is a little-known fact that Buddha was actually an incarnation of Vishnu, who appeared in the world to preach non-violence in the garb of atheism. Indeed, even the deity of Vishnu at Muktinath has a striking resemblance to Lord Buddha. Behind the main temple is a sacred stream that divides itself into 108 outlets. It is said that the water of this stream has the power to release one from the cycle of repeated birth and death. A short distance from the Muktinath temple is the unimposing shrine of Jwalamayi, the eternal fire. In this humble shrine burns a small flame that comes from the depths of the earth. The flame has been burning here for millions of years and reflects within us the eternal nature of consciousness. Consciousness, like the eternal flame at Muktinath, is very small but lives forever.